Hello and welcome everybody to this week's edition of the Travel Coffee Break. I'm Alistair Mackenzie and I've got a couple of guests with me, one regular, one not so regular, but we won't go into that. And we're going to be talking about, with Malcolm Ginsberg, as usual, we're going to be talking about aviation news. And with Michael Ball, we're going to be talking about Blogstock, which is a blogging festival, and an opportunity for people to find out how blogging works, for bloggers to get together and swap ideas and learn from each other, and more. So we'll do that in a soon moment. Let's kick off with Malcolm. Welcome to you, Malcolm.
Hello, good morning, or even good afternoon.
This week, Malcolm, for those who don't know, writes the Business Travel News. It's a newsletter late on a Sunday night, so it's in our in-trays first thing on Monday morning, and it's packed full with interesting items about particularly the aviation industry, which has always been Malcolm's forte. And this week I noticed your headline story is about London City Airport, but I don't think, and the possibility of it being sold, but I don't get the impression that's something that's going to immediately impact passengers.
No, I don't think it's going to impact passengers at all. The thing is that infrastructure projects in London are really, there's a bubble now. The bubble will burst. The airport owner paid 750 million for it. Mm-hmm. And he says, or he's letting it be known, that he expects 2 billion for it. Now, it's a very strange idea that came out last Thursday in the middle of the rail strike, when the airport director was supposed to be on holiday and got pulled back, and the man who actually controls the purse string was going on holiday. My guess is somebody or other has made an offer in that region for the airport, and they're now sounding it out to see what's happening. There's an enormous profit there for them, and the company that owns it, GIP, which is based in New York, they're going to take their money, they're going to take £1 billion at least, and run, and who can blame them?
But does that mean, I mean, should it go ahead, that sooner or later we'll see all those things that we know and love about London City Airport, particularly that very quick, check-in and pass-through time? We'll begin to see facilities deteriorate, or you think it'll get better?
I think it will get better. The problem that they have at the moment, they're moving over 4 million passengers a year. When it first started, they were moving 200,000 passengers a year, so the change is enormous. It is really bursting at the seams at the moment, and with the new aircraft coming in next year, the average aircraft size is going to increase. So they need to spend money, and they're prepared to spend money. And these days, investors are there to just to make money. They're never there for a long time. So you've got this situation: whoever comes in is going to try and quickly push the numbers up to about 6 million. That's my way of looking at it.
And then take their profit. The other story that of course, you weren't able to cover really kind of broke, well, late yesterday, I suppose, which was with, I'm not sure who it was. I think it was a government minister who was talking about airport shopping and how airport shops were perhaps not always passing on the benefits of their savings on VAT. And what caught everybody's attention was that nobody had realised that the reason why we're always being asked for our boarding passes in shops on airside is not because of security, and it's not because, as I thought, that they were trying to gather marketing data on us. It's actually because they need that to be able to claim back VAT on those who are leaving the EU. So they claim back the VAT, and whether they pass that or not on to us is down to them. Now, you were saying, well, good on them. Why not, Malcolm? When we were talking just now, is that your position?
The news broke with the Independent. Simon Calder, don't know where he gets all the time from, managed to pick up somebody else's story, and everybody has gone with it.
He gets it ahead of you.
I'm so sorry.
He gets it ahead of you, the news.
Well, he either gets it ahead of me or I get it ahead of him. But well, this whole question of the airports and airside. We always thought that if you were airside on an airport, you're in a non-revenue government area, and now it's all becoming a bit odd. The same thing on the ships. If the ships are out of in the Mediterranean, do you pay the tax on the ships? It's a question I've got to ask the shipping people. No question of it. If you leave a Spanish port, you pay VAT on the Spanish port. So it is said. We don't know if they give it to the Spaniards until you get to the next destination, which might be a Italian port, and then you go to a Greek port and you find the taxes are even higher. But no, Costa, for instance, say this is what we're charging you. The end of the day, what we're looking for as the consumer is the bottom line, and we've got to think that the bottom line that we're paying at an airport is a bargain. I don't care how they get to it. So if you go into Dixon's, what they will tell you is this price is cheaper than if you go into our equivalent store in the high street. There's no question, and they will show it to you. And then they will also show you the online price, and it's about the online price more or less that you're paying. It's very complex because it's all this question of cooked food. If you have a cooked meal on the ground, you pay VAT. If you have a sandwich, let's say a chicken sandwich where the chicken's being cooked, do you pay VAT? I don't know. Clothes is another one.
Well, the answer is not on their side, but whether they try to claim it back or not is a different.
We're talking about the bottom line here. That's all the passion is really interested in. So if you go and buy a dress or clothes or a suit from Marks and Spencer's on somebody that is actually, so I don't think Marks and Spencer's are their landside, but somebody, a store. And are you paying tax on those clothes? And how do you compare it? You have to make up your mind. And of course, for the foreigner coming through, he's completely confused. All I can say, having been through a lot of airports this year, generally speaking, the London airports are cheaper than those overseas. Forget all these ideas that you're going to get a bargain in Dubai or Singapore or Switzerland. London is actually not bad.
The argument has been put that if everybody decides they don't want to show their card, their boarding card, and the reality is that there's no onus on you. You're not required by law or anything to show them your boarding card, except in the case of when you're purchasing alcohol or cigarettes. But apart from, if you decide not to, if everybody does that, then what will happen is it'll decrease their opportunities to claim back VAT, the shops, and therefore the prices will sooner or later inevitably go up. So you might as well show them your card. So I'm gonna ask Michael here, because my feeling is I know whenever I'm in the airport, I always I put on my Mr. Awkward Grumpy customer hat and demand to know why they want my boarding card when I'm just buying a newspaper and a bottle of water. Michael, what are your feelings? Are you happy to show them all?
Yeah, well, I must say I'm a little bit confused by this whole thing which has come out in the last couple of days. Firstly, because I haven't read that much into it, but also because I'm used to going in the airport, and my opinion was always that if you're flying outside of the EU, then you were duty-free and VAT-free, and if you were inside of the EU, then you paid it. That's why there's two different prices, one for inside EU, one for outside. So my opinion was I was showing them my boarding pass to prove that I was either flying in or flying out of the EU. I never really presumed it was so they could start claiming stuff back, and I have to say I don't really know, because I've seen sometimes before when I've done it and I've shown them my pass, they don't make any notes or anything. They just kind of nod, and I always thought that was just because they were because there were two different prices, and yeah, I don't really get why it's such a big deal, to be honest. Yeah, I don't really shop in airports, though. I much more find a bar which I can watch planes take off and drink for 3 hours. So
quite right, too. A right-thinking person. Malcolm, I just wanted to bring you back finally to the newsletter this week, and he said, trying to find it quickly, what was it? Gatwick bag-free travel airporter. This is a new service, and when I first saw it, I thought, oh, it's just a luggage transfer business. But actually, it's not. It's subtly different, isn't it?
No, see, I haven't tried the service yet myself, so I've been a bit of a conduit in that respect. But there's no question of it. It does seem a good idea, and it does seem a way of saving you difficulties with your luggage. They started at London City Airport, and now they're doing it at Gatwick. So we just have to wait and see.
The distinction is because
The problem is it's not that expensive, particularly for the businessman. And I'll give you an example. I can actually watch that.
Wait a second. Let me just explain for listeners, for viewers, what it's all about, because it's not a transfer service in the way that there are many other transfer companies who will take your bags from home and ship them overseas to your destination, to your hotel, and deliver them there. This is actually just the sort of the final bit. So in other words, if you've got heavy bags, or you just don't want to be fussed with your bags, or let's say you're in the office and you want to get your bags from home, what they do is they do the bit between the airport and home. So they just they'll take your bags from you and deliver them home, or equally they'll take them to Gatwick for you, so you don't have to have all that fuss on the train and everything else. And as you say, the price is not too bad. I'm looking down here.
And it's £15 if you're local as well. So particularly for the businessman that's coming in, he's at Gatwick. He wants to get the train to London Bridge, unfortunately, and he doesn't want to be involved with his suitcase or whatever it is, and off he trots. There are lots of ways. I've always said it, and I will reiterate it any time you ask me. One of the most exhausting parts of any airport is the checking in, the going through security, the waiting, the messing about, the queuing at the gate. Anything you can do to help you in that respect is good. And I wanted to give you an example. I was actually at Gatwick recently, and I had a large roller bag with me, and she got a bit snotty, the check-in thing, about the roller bag, and I suddenly realised that it was free to go in the hold, and I wasn't going to be in a rush at the other end, so I'll put it in the hold. So I went through on that aircraft with just a newspaper. It was a real pleasure. It doesn't matter if you're in business class or first class or what. It was a real pleasure just to trot off to the aircraft without anything else. And of course, the bag was there when I arrived.
Yeah, I think people get put off when they, at some point during their flying career, they lose a bag, or a bag gets lost, and that puts them off for life. But it's never happened to me. He said, touch wood. I'm very happy to stick my bags in the hold. It's no bother. So I expect I'll learn my lesson from that. Okay, let's move on. Malcolm, you're welcome as normal to hang.
What I was going to say was maybe a taster for next week's. I'm going to research this whole question of airside and what the regulations are, and even if they can take the VAT airside, if the government's actually get it, it must be there. If I look in the Treasury piece on VAT, maybe one or two of these broadcasters and media people would have solved it all for me. So by Monday morning, and I don't actually write it at midnight on the Sunday evening, I write it during the week. On a Monday morning, readers will be able to read my comment column where I'm doing it.
I think they already have. I can commend to you the BBC news section here. I'll just lock it on the screen there. Airport shopping. What are the rules? And they've gone all the way through. Who's entitled to reduction? Are retailers making a profit? Do you have to show a boarding pass? What goods should be reduced? So half your work is done for you. I think. I think
no, but they're still not right. They're still not right. At the end of the day, you, me, the consumer, wants to know what the bottom line is. If the laptop is £200 out in the high street and you see it for 150, and you're in the mood for buying it, or if you're going to some nice foreign place, better idea this one. You're going to some destination and you want to, it's outside the EU, you want to buy your friend a bottle of 12-year-old Scotch. You can buy that for £20 at the airport and not for £40 outside.
Yep. No, I agree. Absolutely. All right. Okay, Malcolm, thanks for that. Like I say, you're welcome to stick around if you like, or we'll see you next week as usual.
Okay.
And turn our attention to Michael and to Blogstock. Blogstock is, well, I'll tell you what, Michael, why don't you describe it, and then I won't make a hash of it.
Sure. So yeah, Blogstock's we do with Traverse, we do a fair few bloggers events. So conferences and I just got a lot quieter there. Conferences and meetups, one night networking events. And Blogstock's probably our biggest one that we do, or one of the biggest ones we do. And it's it's basically a festival for bloggers. So we're very much following the format of the music festival. We have several different tents, venues basically at the event, as well as bars, places to get food, activities, fun stuff going on. Everybody camps over. And then instead of where you would usually have the music acts playing sets or doing that sort of stuff, we've got people doing talk sessions, demonstrations, education, and that sort of stuff for bloggers. But then all the fun stuff, which is you also get at festivals, we keep as well. So as I said, we've got live music in the evenings, big parties, some nice bars, and everything like that.
I'm putting as you can see, the website up, blogstock2015.com. Last year, as you say, was the first year, and I was there, and it was fantastic. I think what I really liked about it, and a lot of other people appreciated about it, was that that you guys at Traverse are normally focused in a detailed way on travel blogging and travel social media. And Blogstock's a bit broader than that because it brings in parent bloggers and it brings in fashion bloggers who, frankly, bring a degree of elegance to camping that you've rarely seen before. And they were great because they're so much more, commercially minded and proactive than travel bloggers. They were really, really interesting, and I think that's part of its charm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice having the mix. And the reason we thought about that, we've been thinking for a while about doing an event which was for more than just travel bloggers. So for all bloggers, and that came from Traverse 13, the first one we did, because we realized that there's not really anything at those conferences for travel blogging, which is really just about travel. Sometimes one or two sessions which will talk, specifically about. About, I don't know, ways you can travel easier, or tips for traveling, writing when you're on the move. But most of the talks you get are general. There's stuff about WordPress, web design, writing, photography, video, social media, and it really is valuable for lots of people. And also, all the different niches in blogging. So if you've got family blogging, food blogging, fashion, travel, film, tech, they've all got different parts of blogging that they're kind of very strong at and better at than other people. And so people should be learning from other niches. Yeah. There's certainly things that parent bloggers do a lot better on the whole than travel bloggers, and vice versa. So it's good to, people can really learn from each other at these events. So. Yeah.
It is great because, as you say, so many bloggers are, they're skilled at one particular thing. So that perhaps they're skilled at photography, but they're not terribly good when it comes to filling in their tax return. And so you can learn from somebody on the best way to run your books as a business, or to how I'm scrolling through these as we're talking, how to be a YouTuber, that kind of thing, carving your space in the blogosphere. It's a fantastic range. How many sessions or speakers have we got this year, and how big an increase is that on last year?
The actual total amount of talks and sessions is only slightly increased. We had around 35 last year, and it's around the same this year. We'll have 35 to 40 speakers, but a few of them doing more than one talk. So there'll be 4 venues, as it were. So we've got the big marquee, then the debate tent, which is where we hold a lot of the panel stuff. And then one which is being run by a group called Blogging Girls, and they're bringing some of their own kind of ideas and sessions to that. And then we'll have a 4th tent as well, which will, it won't have any specific focus. It's just a slightly more intimate setting, which is the teepee. So we have that.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So it's a bigger teepee than last year though. So all the places are slightly bigger. So we've got a second marquee this year. So we had one marquee last year, and this year we've got a second marquee, which is there for basically shade and shelter, but also it's going to have one of the bars in it, and one of the Thai food is going to be in there, and then a few sessions will also take place in there. So we've got a bit of other stuff. Our photographer Maka Sharifi is a fantastic photographer. He did all the photos last year. He's actually taking people on a photo walk. So instead of doing one session sitting down about photography, he's going to take people around the lake and through the woods, and actually basically teach them as they go. And we did something similar with Julie Faulkner last year, doing an Instagram walk, and she's actually doing a session this year all about how to become how to supercharge your Instagram account. So yeah, there's things that go on. We've got yoga in the morning, which is obviously outside of the normal blogging sessions. We're doing a pizza making class, some stuff about open sandwiches, Danish open sandwiches. There's various activities and games and fun that go on as well outside of the blogging sessions.
Come back to those in a moment, but you're absolutely right. Last year, I was struck with the little teepee was a great space, a nice kind of intimate space for kind of sort of, I was going to say one-on-one, but it obviously wasn't one-on-one talks. It was being used by, for example, Steve Keenan and Andy Jarash, I think, doing sort of one-on-one sessions, assessing people's blogs and looking at them from a marketing standpoint and all that kind of thing. And that worked well. But then when you had, and I forgot bless her what her name is, the YouTuber or video girl,
Sarah.
It was bulging at the seams, and quite often you looked at that tent and there were people kind of sat around the entrance trying to put their heads under the flap. So it's great that that's a bit bigger.
Yeah, one of the things we want to do with all the talks we do is really make so all the conferences and the festival is make it so it's as casual as possible. So we don't want to say to people you have to sign up to this in advance, you've got to study this before you go. There are some sessions people go to where we do have to do it like that. Which is, usually if there's an absolute limit. So, for instance, this year we're doing this really nice session, which is being run by someone called Mel, and she's doing, she's basically conducting it. It's a bit like speed dating, but just blogger on blogger. So it's not the normal blogger on brand stuff you see. And what you'll do is you'll sit there with a laptop. You'll have one laptop each or a tablet. And you'll look at the person's blog who sat opposite you, and they'll look at yours for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And then at the end of that, you give them 3 positives about their blog, 3 things that are great, and 1 thing that you think they could improve.
That's quite a clever idea, isn't it? It's Mel Nib.
Yes, Mel Nib. Yeah. So we're doing that. So that's going to, that sort of session, it is going to be limited. We get out again with having the extra space this year. If we find that to be really popular, we will put it on again in the afternoon. So those things, I think, with the exception of those who like to make it as open as possible. And, there are times when the venues do get completely full up. Last year, we certainly had quite a lot of people sitting on grass outside some of the tents when the brothers from Gandhi's Flip Flops were talking, because I know that was very popular. And Monica Stott did a talk about running your blog as a business, which was great to hear that. And I know that was very busy. But, it's the way it is. It's not really possible to make sure every single venue is exactly the right capacity. Because as much as we plan and we know roughly which talks are going to be more popular, which sessions will be more popular than others, because some stuff's very nichey and it doesn't make it any less informative, just less relevant to a lot of people. It's still, it's still not that easy to know exactly which ones are going to have 10 people and which are going to have 50. But we try.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. I should say, by the way, for those watching, you can ask questions. There is the Q&A app. It's the button at the top right-hand side of the screen. And I mention it partly because Anna Silver O'Reilly, Mrs. Ozaround, has just said, "I'm here." Now, that's in response to me saying to her on Facebook, only a matter of about 20 minutes ago, I'm starting the Hangout in 20 minutes. If you want to talk about the duty-free thing that we were talking earlier with Malcolm about, then do pop in. But to be honest, Anna, we've kind of covered that now, so no need for me to send you an invite. But I'm glad to see that at least you tuned in. So thanks ever so much for that. there is one more question in there, an entirely genius question, because I wrote it, and it was to remind myself, to ask myself, would I be doing live pop-up hangouts on air from Blogstock again this year? And the answer to that is yes. I think I will, and that will be a great chance to talk live when we get Blogstock up and running. I'll kind of sit in the middle there, and you can bet your bottom dollar that Michael, you'll be one of my victims, and I'll get one or two people in from the stands, from the Expedia stands and from Hertz and people like that, to talk about what they're doing, and also the delegates themselves. So if you want to come and talk to me live, then look out for that, because I'll be sitting there with a microphone and a little webcam, and I'd be very happy to chat to you. So that deals with that one. I do have another question here from Paul Dow. Now, Paul, we should declare an interest, is actually one of your Traverse team, but his question is good all the same. Will there be a fabulous quiz this year?
Yeah, I know what he's referring to. I don't think so. Not exactly the same as last year. So the quiz last year we did, which kind of kicked off our Saturday night. So we did our closing debate, which was we always do this at every event we do. We finish off with a big debate. I know, Alistair, you've hosted 2 of them. Now I'm already thinking 2014, 2015 at our Travel Bloggers Conference. And we do that again, and Kevin May will be hosting this. And then after that, we have our Saturday night closing party, which is it's a big party. It's good. I
should say that is a plus, because Kevin is better than me.
I don't know, but you're both not judging. But it's very nice to have Kevin. Back. Yeah. He does always do a fantastic job and ask the right questions to the right people, which is brilliant. And so do you, Alistair. Yeah, I don't know if there will definitely be a quiz this year. I'm not sure. If people want one, we might be able to throw one together. Yeah, it'll be nice to remember one this time, though. I think I had a couple of cocktails before it last year. So
it was that session, that final wrap-up session was very good last year. Kevin was doing it last year, and the panel were good. And I particularly remember from that session listening to one of the fashion bloggers, Riri Roquette, talking about the state of the industry from their perspective, from their sector. And the thing that I think everybody kind of took home with them, not quite literally, was her saying that now fashion bloggers are being so sought after that practically every grab for attention, every press release, every launch or whatever is accompanied with the equivalent of a Gucci handbag, practically, because they're desperate to try and capture the attention of the stronger bloggers. And that was quite striking. It's amazing how the marketing budgets have now begun to shift to blogging and to social media.
Yeah, I think you've got to be careful where they buy the Gucci handbags from as well. Could be off the streets of Bangkok and don't cost that much.
That's true.
No, they are. It's interesting. Again, that's the different niches acting differently, because you get a lot of, if you look at mum bloggers, mum bloggers make it a huge part of it. There's probably more family bloggers, but specifically mum bloggers, than there are all other bloggers put together in this country. There are just so many of them. And what's very interesting about that side of it is how much variation there is within that one side of the industry. Because you will get some people who do really long posts reviewing a bottle for their kid. And then there'll also be some people who won't do it for less than £300-400. So, it is interesting across the different niches of fashion blogging, is different. I don't know this 100%, but I think there's probably a similar amount of fashion bloggers there are travel, which is considerably less than there are family bloggers.
Yeah.
I think fashion, food, and travel are probably quite similar amounts.
On the distribution of delegates, last time round, because one of the good things about it is that being a festival, it's a cheap option for particularly parent bloggers. And Alison Chino, for example, turned up with her pretty much her or whole brood.
Yes,
And that's one of the great strengths. I mean, it gives us for a lovely feel in the at Blogfest, having families and kids there as well. But also it makes it much more affordable and a much better chance for parent bloggers to come round. Do we know if the numbers are the same this year? And what are the numbers overall? Do you still have tickets?
We do still have some tickets already. We are pretty close to our current capacity at the moment, because we can go a lot bigger. But obviously the way it's set up, as I mentioned before, with the venues and stuff like that, we do plan it for a set amount of people. So we kind of put our own cap on that. We do exactly the same with the Travel Blogger Conference. As you notice from all three of our Travel Bloggers Conference have actually sold out. Because we don't want 60 people turning up for a session which is based on 40. We have a little bit more leeway at this event because there is a lot more things. You can drop in and drop out, and there's the stuff outside of the sessions. We do have tickets on sale at the moment. I don't know how long they'll last. It's one of those things, if they sell out with 2 weeks to go, so we're 3 weeks out, three weeks and 2 days out. If they sell out with 2 weeks to go, then that gives us a bit of time to expand. So maybe turn, the debate tent into a marquee. Get a bit more space like that. Make sure that there's more food and drink there. If they sell out with 3 or 4 days to go, then they're going to be sold out. So I think it is, if they go in the next week or so, the last kind of batch we've got, then we'll hopefully be able to put some on sale again with 10 days remaining. If they go in the last week, then that'll be it. Might be able to squeeze 1 or 2 people in waiting lists. But.
And that mix again between fashion bloggers and parent bloggers and travel bloggers, about the same as last year?
Yeah, about the same. I'd say there's probably a few less fashion bloggers, mainly because we worked with a really fantastic fashion partner last year, Sarah Andrews, who put together the Fashion Galleries tent. And we haven't had the same involvement with the fashion industry this year in the build-up, which is obviously a little bit disappointing to us, but it's a complicated enough event with that. When you find that you're working with partners, which we like to do on Blogstock, it's not an event that Traverse. I mean, it's 100% Traverse organised, but in terms of the content and invitations to delegates, we do like to work with other people there because they know their industry better than us. We're not going to pretend that we know the fashion industry as well as who's been involved with for 10 years. So a little bit less on there. I'd say probably a few more mum bloggers. It's a little bit. I have to be honest with you, it's a tiny bit hard to know exactly because on Blogstock, we want to make it a lot more inclusive. We're not insisting that everybody buys a ticket, tells us what their blog is and what industry they're from. And so you may notice we don't have different prices for brand or blogger tickets to this event. It's just one flat, well, it's family tickets or regular tickets, but it's a flat price for all of those. So we don't have the exact numbers. It's something we can put together and find out. And obviously we conduct surveys and stuff to find these things because we build into it for the next year and our other events that we do.
If somebody out there now thinking about it and thinking, this sounds rather fun, we should point out one thing. It's a festival. Last year we were extraordinarily lucky because the daytimes were really lovely, sunny, and they were fantastic. And then it rained in the evenings, and there was one night when it broke records. I think in the southeast, there were parts of London that were flooded.
Heaviest rain in Hertfordshire for 36 years.
But it wasn't. By the morning it is all sort of dried out again, and we were hardly noticed. But it brings me to the accommodation. That if I was thinking about buying a ticket, what do I get for my ticket? Do I get because there's tents as well, aren't there?
There are. We don't provide tents. So Hertz, one of our main sponsors, they do provide the VIP camping. So people are bloggers and they've got a ticket. They can chance it and send a nice tweet to Hertz or an email and see. But generally we don't. It is something we're looking at doing. It was something we were initially hoping to look at a way of solving. We had this great idea of doing a pop-up hostel this year, where people could apply and it would be free for people to stay in. But the logistics and the timing, bearing in mind this is not something which takes our full days for the three of us who work on it, wasn't available. But we do say that if anybody's got any questions, let us know. We'll direct them in a place to get a cheap tent that will work, because as long as you've got a double skin tent and you can get them from there you go, yeah. So you can get them from places like Coleman, Halfords, Blacks, all those shops. It's only going to cost you about £30-35, and obviously then you've got a tent for every time you go camping.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't recommend a festival tent, because festival tent's typically a single skin, and single skin doesn't work.
Yes.
So I would always tell people to avoid festival tents, avoid pop-up tents. You know, if you buy something from a company like Eurohike or Coleman or a cheap Van Gogh tent, you can usually get them for about £30. They'll give you double layers, so double skin. So that's going to be completely waterproof in anything we get, especially when it's new, because they, you know, after a few seasons, sometimes they can start to leak. But it's new, you won't get wet, and they're not expensive. They're easy to put up, and we've got a load of staff members there who can help out with that sort of stuff. So it's that's the way I'd recommend doing it. But there are other options. We're just outside of London, so some people do decide to go home in the evenings or get a hotel nearby.
There's even a Laura Ashley hotel nearby that some people were staying in last year.
Well, there you go. Yeah, so there's a Village Urban Resorts, there's a Premier Inn, Holiday Inn. It's Elstree, so they've got the film studios there. So they're used to bringing in thousands of people to the area. So it's actually well set up when they're filming the likes of Star Wars and Harry Potter and Indiana Jones and all those other great films just around the corner. They have to, you know, the town and the area has to be prepared for that. So there's no shortage of accommodation. But obviously, you know, we prefer when people camp. It's great fun. You know, that way it's great. You can party on as late as you want and then just head to bed. And in the morning, you're already there. We've got nice bathrooms and showers. So it's not slumming it like people think at some festivals, because there's, you know, there's a few hundred people. It's not 100,000. You're not going to get the issues you get with lines for the toilets and showers. And
yes, compared to a boutique festival, it's even more boutique. It's
even more. It is. Yeah, it's something we'll certainly look at in the future. This year, we wanted to keep it similar size to last year. I think it worked really well. There is the capability of making it a lot bigger, but I don't know. I like it. We like it the way it is. It works. It just works so well for everybody who attends. It works so well for the brands who attend as sponsors, the speakers. So, yeah, it's good for now. We'll have a look at 2016.
I called up that thing just now. This is a mail shot that came out from you guys, I think today, actually. And this is, as you say, you can win one of these VIP tents that Hertz do, and I have to say, you can't see in there, but they're very glamorous. They were there were a lot of tweets going out last year, photographs with the interiors of these, and they're very glamorous. I was also going to just put up, because we were talking about where it all is. Let me see if I can find that. Now, are you seeing the map without me going? Yes,
I am.
Yeah, there we are. So we're talking about this. It's just outside London, Elstree, and if you zoom in, you'll see. In fact, if anybody knows what it's like to drive out of London, you know that stretch where you go up the hill and round the bend just after the services. Well, Elstree's the bit that's tucked away behind the hill there. So it's here, and it's in the Oldham Country Park, and it's easy to get to, easy to drive to, and as you were saying, there's several hotels around here, not least because, as I recall, somewhere close by here, there's London Elstree Aerodrome, which is where all the celebs fly in, and it's where the studios are. So they're well placed for all of that.
And you're close to Barnet and Watford as well. So there's towns around, and it's actually it's on the Thames Link and it's on the Tube. So it's not a difficult place to get to.
Yeah, no, definitely. Let me try and get back to me. There we go. Okay. So in terms of entertainment, we have Matt Preston again spinning the discs.
He's going to be doing a little bit of disc spinning, but he is, as you know, now part of the Traverse team. As they joined up with us just after last year when we were expanding. So he's also going to be doing a lot more busy with other stuff. So we've actually got live music on both nights this year. So we've got a fantastic singer called Molly Violet playing a set on the Friday. And we have a fantastic kind of funk band doing covers of all range of old and new songs everyone's going to know on the Saturday night. So they're doing 2-hour-long sets on the Saturday. So that's their Expedia's after party. We do a big party with Expedia, which is great fun. So we got both of that. But Matt's actually also doing DJ lessons when we're there. So he's going to bring his decks down. And if people want to sign up.
Is there no limit to his talent? Because Matt is an accomplished blogger. Travels with a mate. Travel with a mate.
Yes, no.
Is Matt's blog, and is well known for that and has been for yonks and yonks and yonks. And at the same time, he's an excellent DJ. Actually, he's very good.
It was incredibly good. Yeah, I have to say, I was one of the people who was slightly skeptical about having a DJ last year. And Matt talked to me. I was like, stick a playlist on it, be fine. And then you realise when someone actually knows how to do that sort of stuff, how much better it is.
Makes a world of difference.
Yeah,
and that's one of the good things about it, because as you say, it's not all hardcore learning. It's not all back-to-back sessions and keynote speeches and panels and things. There's also an element of fun in there. I think last year, I forget who it was. Was it somebody had a sort of like an inflatable go-kart track that
was Hertz.
That was Hertz. Were madly pedaling around. I've got a photograph of Dylan Lowe, whizzing around that thing. There's lots of other stuff going on and stuff to entertain.
Yeah, it entertains the whole family. So if you get bloggers coming with a partner and a kid, which is what we offer with the family tickets. So you get 2 tickets, and then you can bring as many kids as you want, and it's cheaper than buying 2 outright. And some people said, but my husband isn't really into blogging, or my wife isn't into blogging. And so, well, we got 2 bars and 4 places to get food, and we got an inflatable football pitch and bouncing castles. So there's plenty of fun. We got lots in the way of food and drink and stuff like that.
I saw a tweet yesterday that said was it 20 days away from Blogstock now?
23. It's 3 weeks on Friday, so 23 today.
Feeling nervous?
Yeah, it's just there's a lot of stuff still to organise. I think whenever you do events, it's like planning a trip. Any big project you do, it's going to be difficult that last month. There's going to be a lot of stuff that comes up, and I think the trick to it is being prepared for the stress. It's never going to be less stressful. It's always going to be tough. But me knowing, going into this last month, knowing it's going to be 12, 14-hour days every day to get stuff ready. So I know that. And last year was a bit of a shock. Just how complex doing a festival is compared to doing a conference, because basically you build every single venue, and you have to have a license for every venue, and you have to make sure that you've got stock for everything, and contingencies for weather and power and all that sort of stuff. So we can't say we were not prepared for it last year, but it was just the first time we did it. So we're a better place this year, certainly. I think the event's going to be I'm not going to say it's going to be more fun, because I had such a great time last year, but it's certainly taken up a notch from last year. Just in terms of the stuff, mainly outside of the sessions. Last year was an incredible lineup, I think, anyway, in terms of the talks and the sessions. And I don't think this year is any better or worse. I think, we did brilliant last year. We got some fantastic sessions this year. But certainly outside of that, I think we've gone up a level, which is, the fun non-blogging stuff. Not that the blogging isn't fun itself.
The bit I'm looking forward to the most is seeing how much newbies, first-timers, get to enjoy it, because they're going to love it. Yeah,
we get an awful lot of people who come to us on Twitter and email and say, I've never been to a blogging event before. I don't want to go by myself. And we say, you're never on your own for more than about 5 minutes. A lot of people do come by themselves, and a lot of people are quite skeptical at first. And they come, and within about 10 minutes, having a great time. Last year was fantastic. We had so many people from who were the sponsors, or the slightly older or posher bloggers, who had no, we're not going to camp. We're going to go home at night. And a lot of them coming up to me at about midnight saying, we want to stay over. Have you got any spare tents? So I was there trying to put up some. I've got my own I took, and we brought a few extras. So that happens quite a lot. It was good. Some of the brands who were down had that last year, and we always say to people, it's good if you can camp. It's much fun. I know you did last year.
Yeah.
Nice. You're there in the morning. You don't need to go anywhere.
That's brilliant. Cool. Looking forward to it very much. And best of luck to you and the rest of the team. You've got one of your team members, Ruth Haffenden, back. She's been in Australia for most of the year. She's back as well. So
yes, unfortunately, I don't think she's going to still be around when Blogstock comes up, though. I think she's a few days before, so she's got out of another one. But she's very busy. Ruth, understandably, because she's living in Australia, so she wasn't really actively involved with the planning of Blogstock. But Ruth's taking a lead on the World Travel Market stuff for Traverse this year. So a lot of planning around that, which will be very exciting. But does mean that we don't get our usual 2 weeks rest after the event, because we're overlapping essentially this year. But that will be very good as well when it comes out.
And of course, nearer the time, we'll do this again and talk about what's going on at World Travel Market. So
and Traverse 16 next year, which we're going to be announcing in the next couple of weeks.
Excellent. Okay, lots to look forward to. Michael, it's been great. It's been great having you on, and I'm looking forward to it. I must go and make sure all my tent bits are together in one place and organised and that kind of stuff. But looking forward to it very much, and looking forward to learning tons and having lots of fun. So I will see you there, if not before. So okay. I'm not sure yet what next week's is going to be, so you know what to do. Take a look at the travelcoffeebreak.com blog pages, and that'll tell you what's happening. And until next week, from both of us, bye for now.
Goodbye. Thanks.